Hi, this is the pre-job briefing for Power Plant Simulation 1. This week what we're going to be working on is using alarms and how we handle alarms and try to troubleshoot. You'll open up your Neptune student once you've logged into your computer, and we'll open up our directory, exercises, power engineering 2014, and then you're going to have a file week 3 alarms. I also have one that I'm going to use for my demo here, but you will use your week 3 alarms file. Okay, so we have our software that has loaded up. When it asks for your username, I'm going to be doing some tracking on you guys this week. So if you could put in your name into the box, that would be helpful for me. So we'll just enter our name and hit OK. If you forget to do that, that's okay. We can solve that later. But please, if you can, that would be great. Okay. So a couple things. I've launched a simulation. First of all, I'm frozen. Okay, so I've left some of the instructions here in our student menu. We're going to hit F1 to start the simulation. Okay, so make sure we're running. And instructions: use the alarm list to identify the active alarms. And for each alarm, we're going to determine what the current variable is, level, temperature, etc., and what the acceptable range is. And then we're going to come up with a strategy to fix that alarm. Okay, so we see we have an alarm here flashing, and you'll have a series of them once you start your exercise. Okay, so I have number 1 here. And it appears that when I open that up, I have some alarms that I can visibly see here. Okay, so if I look across at this guy, what it says is I have a 19.05 meters is the port bunker tank fuel oil level. Okay, and it's flashing at me. So I have a level that is outside of the acceptable range. And how I find what that acceptable range is I come over here to my values in these columns. Okay, I have a column that lists out a low alarm value, and I have a column that lists out a high alarm value. So in this case, I have a level that will trigger an alarm if it exceeds 19, and I appear to be slightly above that. And in fact, I have 2 tanks that have a level that are a little bit too high. Okay, so then our next step really is we figured out we have levels that are too high. We need to bring them down below 19 for those to disappear. We're going to come up with a strategy to fix the alarm. Okay, locating the alarm is our next challenge. So we have, this was alarm number 1. However, if we go to page number 1, this is not where our alarm is found. Okay, so the numbers here do not match up to the numbers in our process directory. However, we do have one tool out of the process directory which is pretty useful to us, which is this process overview. So if we click on the process overview, I'll just close this off. What we have is a block diagram for all the systems in our plant, and we can clearly see that we have an issue over here. Okay, and if we just click on that box, it will take us to, in this case, was page number 3, and this is where some of our alarms are located. So if we were to take note that, okay, so the description here was FO overflow tank and bunker tanks. When I went here, yes, so these are my bunker tanks. So this should be the alarm that matches up to this description. Okay, because you'll have 5 or 6, you need to be careful that you're going to the right place for the right alarm out of your list. Okay, so it looks like I have a tank here that is too high or too full, and I have a tank here that is to full as well. Okay, so I'm going to go through the process of trying to drop the level in this port bunker tank. So I'll need to drain some oil from the bottom. That will need to go through a pump to move it. And let's just say I'm going to put it into this 4 bunker tank. Okay, so I'm creating some flow and my level should start to drop. Okay, so we can see the level starting to drop. And I guess what I would anticipate is if it drops below that 19 level, that my alarm should clear. However, I still have an alarm. Alarms will not clear until I've clicked on them to acknowledge. Okay, so number 3, acknowledge the alarm to ensure that it clears. And then number 4, very important, ensure that you have left the system in a stable state before moving to the next alarm. So yes, I fixed my alarm. However, after a while, this tank is going to continue to drain, and at some point it will potentially be too low. Or else if I'm moving fluid over here, it's going to be too high. So very important before I move on. I've cleared the alarm. Let's make sure we reverse our steps. Okay. This alarm I've left, so it's still flashing. Okay, and flashing indicates it's a new alarm. So I could always acknowledge it and say, I wonder if it's still an active alarm. And so by clicking on it, we'll notice that it stops flashing, but it still remains. It's still an active alarm. And so if I was to clear this one, so I'll drain some water out of this tank and we'll see what happens. And as soon as it drops below that high level alarm trigger, then my alarm has disappeared. Okay, so in this case, I dropped the level below and then acknowledged. In this case, I acknowledged first and brought it down below. Either one is okay, but you'll see different interactions, a solid, high or low, H or L, or else this one will keep flashing until we do acknowledge. What's left now is an A, which says this is something with an alarm on it. So we can see there's several values on our system where we have alarms that may be triggered. And not everything has an alarm, but most of the major things do. Okay. Once you're working away at your exercise, I'm going to pop in to say hi to everybody and check on your progress and give you some ways that you can track how you're doing with fixing your alarms. Okay, thanks very much.